The stiff hug by the two Afghan presidential contenders signaled the end of a protracted political crisis. But skeptics fear it has created two power circles in Afghan politics, which may lead to future tugs of war. President-elect Ashraf Ghani is supposed to share authority on many issues with a new chief executive that his former rival Abdullah Abdullah will nominate. And sharing authority in politics is never easy under the best of circumstances. Scott Smith of the United States Institute of Peace thinks the real test of the deal will come the first time the two sides have a major disagreement.
With these kinds of agreements, it really becomes a question of what happens in practice and how do you find practical ways of resolving differences and interpreting issues that you might never have thought of when you're negotiating it. Just politics is very complicated.
Meanwhile, the country is facing an economic meltdown, worsening security situation and low morale. Omar Samad was an ambassador and a spokesman for the Afghan Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Kabul. He says these very problems may prove to be the silver lining in this cloud.
I think Afghans realize, and these two individuals realize, that Afghanistan has very few opportunities left, and there are very few alternatives.
Samad also says that both Ghani's and Abdullah's teams have worked together for months now to broker this deal. The relationship thus created may help resolve future disagreements. A united front by the Afghan political elite will be necessary if the country is to eventually negotiate a political settlement with the Taliban. The Taliban used the division and uncertainty in Kabul to launch one of its worst offensives since the beginning of the war. Afghan security forces suffered heavy casualties. In the end, though, Samad says the Taliban did not win.
The perspective in Afghanistan also is that they have not succeeded in their attempts to control territory or to dislodge the government.
Still, Afghanistan will need continued help from Washington if it is to keep Taliban militarily at bay. This is why Smith thinks the U.S. needs to reconsider its decision to pull out all support troops from Afghanistan by 2016.
I think that would give some measure of confidence to the national security forces, and perhaps then begin to bring back some of or push back some of the gains that, as you pointed out, the Taliban have definitely made.
The political uncertainty of the last several months also led to a contraction in the Afghan economy. Donor countries held back funding to see how the transition would work out. They will now be watching closely to see if the two sides can work together. In the end, chances are that neither side will be completely satisfied, but both sides have a lot to lose. Afghans and the international community hope this fear is enough to force the two sides to stick together. Ayesha Tanzeem, VOA News, Washington.